So, welcome to our first vlog. So, my name's Ben,
I'm Amy.
and the reason we want to do this, we've gone through an agile transformation in Vodafone. We as Scrum Masters realised that the Scrum Master world is quite limited to software development, and we came up with some ideas as to how we can disrupt the industry by putting a load of resource online, making it available for everybody, making it really accessible, and just making the agile world a bit more sexy and a bit more friendly to anyone that wants to use it, because there's so much value in it for teams. So we came up with this idea to start a website that would hold a lot of free resource. That would be things like retrospectives, be things like icebreakers, team building activities, a whole load of resources that you can use as a Scrum Master or anyone in any team, but that originate from the Agile framework and the Agile methodology. The model that we were thinking of is the model whereby you provide a lot of value for free, you build up a following, and then from that following you ask what are the pain points and what is it that we really can make a difference in, and from your following you then have the answer as to what is the product they really need. Is it more content? Is it premium content? Is it consulting? Is it one-to-one webinars? It could be a whole range of things, but then you can provide a solution that actually meets the needs of the guys that are following you. And so from that we said, okay, starting point is to create a website that's really fun, really accessible, really sexy, exciting, and adds loads of value to primarily Scrum Masters and Agile teams. But secondary, and I think this is going to be the real growing part of what we do, is that it adds value to anybody in any kind of team. So whether you're a football team, whether you're a team of students working on a project, whether you are teachers, whether you are in a product team, a finance team, a HR team, you should be able to utilise these agile resources in a way that adds value to your team and ultimately brings value to your customers and your purpose.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing. One of the two big things that we kind of said was there's the business side of it, but also there's that need for, in the market at the moment, there's very limited options for organisations who can't afford to pay absolutely huge amounts of money for contractors to be able to get hold of some of this agile knowledge and skills. But there's a massive opportunity and a massive need for particularly things like not-for-profit organisations, charities, smaller organisations who could really benefit from some of this, just some small things, any of the things as simple as retrospectives or team building activities or exercises to get your team to collaborate better. All of those things could be a massive could have a massive impact for charities, for organisations who would really benefit from it but can't afford to have it otherwise. And that's a massive driver for us. So to be able to provide to such a wide audience, it is a long-term goal. We know that there's going to be it's going to take us a while to get there, and I think as we've thought about this, the ideas have evolved and grown amazingly. So it is going to take time, and I guess that's one of the reasons why we decided to record our process through vlogs, through blogs, through all sorts of various methods, so that we can show we're actually using some of this framework as well. We're running in sprints. We're looking to learn and adapt and reprioritise based on what we've learned as we go, and then we can kind of use it as a case study for what we're doing as well, because there's not many of those out there. So it gives a really good opportunity. So yeah, I think that's why we're doing it. Ben's going to tell you a little bit about our plan now.
Yeah. So as I mentioned to you guys, the plan was to create this site, and I saw it in a bit of a three-stage process. The first stage being to create a site that's really accessible, has some great features, and provides loads of resources that add value. The second stage is then to build a following around that site. So whether that's followers on social media, LinkedIn groups, hopefully a really strong email marketing list, so people that have said, yes, I want to be part of this, and here's my email address and my details. And then from that community, like I mentioned, you can then say, what are your main pain points in your team? What is it that you really need? Is that premium content? That kind of stuff. The third stage of this project would then be to deliver a product that actually creates some revenue, adds value to our customers. I really don't believe in just building a product and chucking it out there and forcing it down the throats of your customers.
Yeah.
From my experience, what little experience I have, I've noticed that the most powerful products are ones that really fix a need. And also, when you are running a tight startup and you're really trying to be lean with your resource and you want to be really effective, the best way to get a product out there is to test it on a demographic. That demographic then buy into the solution because they've said, hey, we had a part to play in the development. It was our ideas that have now built this product. So when you actually then come to release the product, you've already got a load of customers that are ready to buy because they were part of the testing process and they were part of that community that developed it. So that was why I felt the first stage of building the site, adding value, second stage of growing that community will then really powerfully flow into the third stage of, okay, here's a product based on what you guys have said that you need. So the problem that we noticed, as mentioned, is that there are Scrum Masters and Agile teams all across the world in just about every community, corporate, company, sector that are employing, they are utilising Agile. Yes. Employing Agile, what's the word? They are implementing Agile, that's it. So there are teams everywhere that are implementing Agile in just about every sector. And what I think we've noticed is that it's a long process to implement Agile into different types of teams. So Agile originated from software development teams. Yep. It was for writing code and deploying code into software. And what everyone now is doing is applying Agile into product teams, finance teams, HR teams, marketing teams. Amy and I are both in marketing and digital marketing teams, and we're using Agile across pretty much every team that we come in contact with. So if you are in one of these teams where the big bosses have said, hey, this Agile thing looks good, use that, and then you go, right, well then let's use Agile, but actually you might come into the role and be desperately searching for help, for advice, for guidance, templates, resources, and it's very difficult to get that without paying a consultant or an Agile coach, and there are some great ones out there, but they're quite expensive, and unless your company is buying into that resource, you're going to really struggle to get that help. If you try and Google online, you'll be met with a few and far between blogs by software dev type guys that don't really help that much. So the problem that I noticed, and I think then from chatting with Amy and others, is that when you start out or you're new or you want to progress or you want to grow your team, if you're online and you're just searching around for resource, there's not much there. What we also notice is that the workforce of tomorrow is far more likely to grow up in an Agile type environment. So the research shows that the younger generation, the younger workforce, they're far more in tune with an Agile way of working. They want to work more iteratively. They want to work quicker. They want to work on stuff where they find their purpose and their values in what they're doing. And actually, companies where they've got a large age range in their workforce, the younger age range, are far more open to using Agile and they're more comfortable working in an Agile way of working. Whereas the older age range are less kind of open to it because that's not something they've been used to. So in theory, what we're going to see is as the workforce moves on, more of the younger generation coming through will naturally be inclined to work in an Agile way. So what we're going to see is more and more companies adopting Agile, more and more teams adopting Agile, more and more of the workforce being comfortable and used to working in Agile format. So this is only a market and a kind of an area and a methodology that's going to grow far more than where we're at the moment. We're probably on the adoption scale, probably still in the kind of early adopters phase of the life cycle of this methodology. So the solution, as we've mentioned, it's going to be a website that provides loads of resource, loads of great content, loads of stuff that is open source and it's already out there, but we want to make it into a really concise, really understandable, user-friendly, put it into that kind of format that everyone can get some content and some value from. We also want to do things like blogging and podcasts, which is why we're doing this. So vlogging the journey. Yes. So we are literally starting a website from scratch with a small team of volunteers who are friends and colleagues. And actually we said, right, we'll do it in Agile, in a Scrum format. And so we thought, right, well, this is a real chance to test ourselves.
Yeah.
Are we going to do it in a way that is representative of our values as Scrum Masters and as Agile practitioners? So which is why we said, let's blog this, let's do video content, let's write blogs so we can track the journey, so that hopefully in the future we can say we built a website and a business from scratch using Agile values and the Scrum framework, and we can demonstrate that step by step. Key metrics we'll be looking at is things like website traffic, the number of users that use our resource. If no one's using a resource or a piece of content, or if no one's using a retrospective idea, then it's probably crap, so we've got something to go on. And we think that our unfair advantage is that we are Scrum Masters in a FTSE 100 company that is adopting Agile really well. So we are getting access to Agile tools, resources, coaches, training that we're really lucky to have, and that a lot of other companies won't get. So the fact that we have all that at our disposal, and we have the chance to experiment with our teams and try new things and implement Agile, gives us a really unfair advantage, that we have all that and we can now bring it to you guys, and we can put it all out there in a way that's usable for not just big corporates but for any company or any team.
I think just to build on what you were saying earlier about the lack of resource, there's some great training courses out there for Scrum Masters, so you can go on 2-day training courses, and a lot of companies are sending people on these 2-day training courses to go and get qualification as a Scrum Master, which is great for theory, but it doesn't tell you how to implement it back in the workplace, and that's the biggest gap. So there's a lot of people out there who might have Scrum Master qualifications, but who haven't worked in Scrum yet and don't have the knowledge or the skills to know what can be adapted without losing the Agile values and principles.
Yeah, so true.
Scrum, like you said earlier, Scrum was massively focused around software development, so it worked in its framework as is. We both work in marketing, digital marketing teams, so we've had to tweak and slightly tailor the Scrum approach in what we do so that it fits for our teams, and that's the bit that's missing. We've had to learn that, and like you say, because we've got these resources because of the company we work for, we've been able to learn how to do that. If we didn't have that, it would have been really, really difficult to do so.
Yeah.
So that's a massive gap. So that's a massive thing that we kind of have noticed that isn't there at the moment.
Why don't you tell the guys a bit about the types of customers, the kind of groups that we're hoping to do something for?
So on top of kind of, obviously we are Scrum Masters, and we talk quite a lot about Scrum as a framework, but actually Agile is a mindset. And then there's various frameworks that fall within that. So you've got Scrum, you've got Kanban approach, you've got Lean, you've got Safe, you've got all different versions that all fall under the Agile mindset and the Agile principles. And there's a lot of companies and organisations out there who might say they're doing Agile, but are paying it lip service.
Yeah.
So they're not being Agile. They're just doing it. So they're just running Scrum, but not truly being Agile. And that's kind of one of the things that we're kind of thinking about. How can we bring that forward? How can we teach and bring that skill to life? And I think it's still something that we're learning as well, because we still see that a little bit in the organisation we're in. So that's definitely something that we're kind of considering. But in regards to our customers and the people that we see using this, there's a big range. It's almost like anybody, like you said earlier, it's any team. Particularly initially, we're thinking new Scrum Masters, new POs, or any POs.
What's
actually.
PO?
Product owner.
There we go.
Good one. Scrum Master, and any Agile team. So anyone that's new to this, anyone who might have done it for a little while but needs a bit of inspiration. I think that's the other thing that we've noticed is you can be a year in role, but actually we went back and did some retraining with a couple of our coaches after a year, and it was really good to get that refresh.
Absolutely.
So anyone working in Agile teams, that's kind of one group or segment of our base. You've got then the more experienced people, like I just said, building on what they already know and having somewhere. Sometimes you might have exhausted all of your options and you think, I can't think of another retrospective without doing the same thing I've already done, and it gets boring, and they want to keep the team engaged. So it's just a place to go for new ideas. You've then got new non-agile teams. So they might just be teams who aren't running Scrum, they aren't running Kanban approach, they're not running any framework at all, but you've got a leader there who recognises the need to build collaboration within that team or get better communication between them. There'll be tools and exercises and ways and materials that they can draw for what we're creating to help that team. So it's not necessarily just you have to be agile to do this. This can help anybody, like we say, in a team who just wants to pull on some of those agile mindset kind of and values. So
I think a really good example of that would be with like a sports team.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
A football team playing on a Saturday, they win or they lose their game, they go into the changing room. Now, a key session, a key part of Agile and Scrum teams is to do a retrospective every sprint. So you sit down and you go, what worked well, what didn't work well, what did we learn, what are we going to do differently next time? You do that in a whole different kind of permutations and you tailor it to the team. But actually any team, whether that's a sports team, you know, a bunch of mechanics in a car dealership at the end of a busy couple of weeks, any team can sit down after that football match or whatever and say, what worked well, what didn't work well, what are we going to do differently, what are we going to implement next time? It's that iterative reflection and adaptation, which is part of the Agile framework that any team could utilise. So you don't need to be an Agile team to utilise a lot of the great tools that we find in the framework.
Yeah, definitely. And I think last one was just the other thing that we considered as well is around HR departments. And the reason we've kind of separated that out from any other department in an organisation is because HR will be there to support any organisation who goes through a transformation into Agile, because it's a different, you have to create a new structure to get Agile properly. So HR need to know what it's about, and what we've seen is there's a lot of HR departments who don't have the knowledge or understanding of what Agile is, so would struggle to support a transformation the way they need to. So just somewhere for a HR department to be able to go to have a look at, to get a basic understanding, not necessarily that they're going to run in an Agile way, but just to have an understanding of what it is they're trying to support the business with. When you've got recruitment teams looking to recruit new people into the business, there's certain skills and things that they might want to look for if you're recruiting into an Agile environment as opposed to not. So it's just an understanding for other areas of the business who might be supporting or impacting on Agile teams but not running it themselves as well. So there's that side of it.
Yeah, and I think HR teams have got a really tough job of trying to balance the wants and needs of the people in the company, the executive staff, shareholder, the industry telling them what they should and shouldn't do. So actually to provide a resource where we can quite quickly and articulately give HR teams some guidance on Agile and some resource that cuts through a load of the stuff they've got to get through and gets straight to the heart of what is it that's going to benefit the company they're trying to help run. I think that would be really beneficial because they're actually trying to do the best job they can. They're being bombarded with all sorts of ideas and things and initiatives they're told they need to get better at. So actually if we can provide a really succinct way for them to understand Agile, that would be a huge win, I think. Let's talk a bit about what we've done today.
A lot.
With our small team.
With our small team. We've eaten pizza.
Yeah,
we've had some snacks, a couple of drinks. But more importantly, we've done a couple of kick-off sessions. So we've got some pictures and things around that, so we'll upload a bit more information, a bit more detail, but a high-level overview. Kick-off session, got to know each other a little bit better, talked about why we wanted to be involved.
Who have we got on the team?
Who've we got on the team?
In terms of skill sets, numbers.
Oh, okay, right. So us. You've got Dennis, who predominantly front-end developer. Back-end.
Robin's front-end.
That's a good start, isn't it? Yeah, back-end developer. Robin is front-end developer. You've then got Kat, who...
She's an SEO and e-commerce manager.
E-commerce. So what that means is someone who has lots of knowledge and skills and focus around digital journeys, digital optimization.
Yeah, she's a bit of a wizard when it comes to analytics and tracking and SEO, tagging and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then we've got Adina, who is creative, effectively, our creative resource. So she's the one that's going to make all of our stuff look pretty.
Basically.
Because we're really good at knowing how to run retrospectives, but trying to get that on paper and make it look exciting and pretty for you guys is going to be a bit more difficult. So that's on her.
Absolutely.
So she's going to be doing that for us. So we've met up a few times. First one, kind of a little bit about us, why we're doing this, what we want to achieve off the back of it. And then we did a kick-off and thought about our MVP. MVP is minimum viable product. So it's the minimum amount that we need to deliver to start adding value to our customers. So we talked about the key things that we thought were important to be delivered. And we talked about things like, what's the page going to look like? Where are we going to host it? What do we need? What's our name? Which proved a lot more difficult than we thought it was going to be. Yeah. There was loads of different things that we went through, and we used various exercises to help us get there. We are using resources such as Trello to kind of keep track of, one, the resources we're going to be putting onto the website, but also to keep track of what everybody's working on. We're using Slack to make sure we can communicate. So although we've got people who work together and see each other, we're not always in the office. We're not always around. So Slack just gives us that opportunity when we are remote and we're not with each other to keep communication quick, fast-paced, relevant, fun.
It's almost
and
putting in those foundational layers of how we're going to work together.
Absolutely.
We went through a bit of a why,
charter,
so we looked at what values do we really want to adhere to. We very quickly just jotted down 5 things in terms of values and behaviours that we want to champion with each other.
Yeah.
We all signed it.
Yeah, absolutely. We will publish that as well. So it's not going to be secret. We'll make sure all this stuff that we're talking about, like, it's available so you guys can see it. I think that's kind of... And then we are now Sprint Zero.
We're Sprint Zero. Shall I mention the name and how we got there?
Yes.
So, I was quite proud of this, actually. So I said to the guys, I had this idea to ask, if we had to have a celebrity face of the company, like George Clooney from Nespresso, that kind of thing, who would it be and why? And someone said Robert Downey Jr., which I thought was really interesting, that the films that are currently in the cinema and Robert Downey Jr.'s part to play. And as we started to kind of talk about that theme, we realised that Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man is the guy that pulls together this team of superheroes who are fantastic individually, but when they come together, they become this super team who can achieve far more as a team than they ever could have done individually. And
very different skill sets.
Yeah.
They've all got different knowledge bases.
Yeah.
And in theory, shouldn't be able to work together collaboratively, but they do, and it works.
So we came up with the name Agile Avengers for the site. AgileAvengersHub.com will be the domain. So that's what we're kicking off with at the moment. We're starting to build the site, starting to get some of our kind of branding and imagery together. We're getting content together for you guys. So as well as vlogging like we're doing at the moment, we're writing some blogs. We're starting to get some content together so that we can get the site launched and get some value out there and start to see what you guys think straight away. Next steps, what we're going to be doing in the immediate future.
Writing more blogs.
Eating more pizza.
A couple more drinks. I think that's it. You just said it. It's just kind of those initial things. So we're midway through Sprint Zero.
Yes. Sprint Zero is finishing
this
tomorrow.
Oh, it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow. And then we'll kind of catch up and see where we're at. Obviously, this is a part-time thing for us, so although we're doing 2-week sprints, we're not going to make huge progress in 2 weeks because it is sort of like part-time.
And a lot of the work that we're doing at the moment is discovering, it's exploratory.
There's a lot of
finding our feet with various ways of doing things.
What we would call a spike.
Yes, a lot of scoping type stuff.
Yeah, you'll learn about spikes later on. A lot of that sort of understanding and kind of building a good foundation to allow us to get to where we want to go. Right now we've got nothing that we can share. Mind you, by the time this goes out,
we may have something.
We may have something.
We may have something below by the time this goes out. So.
Yes. So I think that's where we're at.
Cool.
excited for you guys to come on this journey with us.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for watching, and we will be back
Soon.